Greetings from Tokyo. I know I haven't done an update for quite a while, so this is really a catch-up update with lots of little bits. I thought it'd be good to do a video when I'm having a very, very tough day. It's 4:45 in the evening here, and yeah, I've been stuck in the house all day in quite a lot of pain. Still getting waves of abdominal pain every kind of 15 to 20 minutes. But for the past hour, the pain has become a bit more infrequent. So I thought it'd be a good chance to do a video and catch up with you, let you know what's been happening. Um, it's really tough when I have like a lost day due to pain, um, because yeah, I don't necessarily have many more days to go, and there's a lot that I desperately need to get done and want to get done. There's obviously stuff to do with and for my family, but there's also the cancer non-profit organization that I'm in the process of setting up, and I'm trying to make some progress with that and just other general life stuff as well. So yeah, the pain has been quite bad today, and every few days recently I sort of have a bad day. Um, I need to go and see my surgeon and get some advice, but talking to other patients, I'm not particularly optimistic. Um, Sometimes this pain stuff is forever after the surgery. Sometimes gets a bit better after a few years. My surgery I think was about 4 months ago now. So yeah, it's some things have been very, very good recently, and some things not so good. Um, One of the very challenging things about having terminal cancer when you're relatively young, and I'm not so young now, is that you get to know lots of other patients because, of course, now we can get to know people online, and yeah, obviously most of those don't make it, to be honest. And yeah, 10th of October, a good friend of mine died. She was about the same age as me, Paola, in Paris, and yeah, same same cancer, same spread of cancer to the abdominal membrane, um, liver, and lungs and that kind of thing as well, same as me. So that was and still is very tough to deal with. Um, and yeah, that has happened a lot over the last 5 years, really, and of course will continue to happen a lot. Um, the longer I survive, the more um, people I'm going to get to know, and of course, most of us aren't going to make it, um, at least until some really big changes happen in oncology. Um, I did get some good news yesterday, which is that I finally got the result of a very advanced cancer test that I had recently. So a couple of months ago, I had the N-nose test. That's N-N-O-S-E, N-nose test, which is a test using a nematode worm. It's like a parasitic worm, I think, that like a flatworm that usually lives in kind of intestines and things like that. And it's a very sensitive test. Should be possibly 100 times more sensitive than the normal monthly blood tests, the tumor marker tests that cancer patients have. And although it's a test that's been designed for screening, so testing healthy people and hopefully giving them the all clear or finding cancer in a very early stage so that it can be cured really with a high degree of probability. So it's not a test designed for patients like me who have had a lot of treatment, and want to know if we can relax a bit. But anyway, I got the results. I don't understand the results in detail yet because I just was sent a scan of the result by email. But next time I go to the clinic, which is in a few weeks' time, I've got a full body CT scan. I'll have a discussion with the oncologist about the results in detail and hopefully understand a bit more what it means. But at least superficially, it means that currently things are very good, relatively speaking, and it means I don't have to rush back to chemotherapy and tough treatments like that. So that's, yeah, fantastic news, and I'll have that test again. I'm not sure how regularly, but it's not a cheap test. I think it's like 20,000 yen, so that's, I don't know, a couple of $100. But relatively speaking, yeah, it's very good value because the liquid biopsy tests can be, well, hundreds to kind of low thousands of dollars. The liquid biopsy test I had a few years ago, which I got for free as part of a clinical trial here in Japan, but I think it was like $2,500 as a commercial test. So the $200 end-nose test is yeah, very good value. And more advanced testing is on its way very soon. Sometime next year I'll be able to have the Toshiba Toray test, which is one of those tests using a microchip, and I think it's like gold nanoparticles or something in the chip, and it's a test for tests using microRNA, and again very, very sensitive, and it should be approved in Japan for colon cancer instead of 4 or 5 months. It's been approved here for a couple of cancers already. So yeah, that's gives you some idea of what's going on at the moment. So the things I'm mainly working on is the NPO, the non-profit organization Make Cancer History. I've put up a simple website for that. Lots more to add and work on the website. I had a very productive and promising meeting recently with someone who worked, a director of another non-profit in Yokohama, and it's a non-profit that deals with women's issues, and I was talking to the director about doing some cancer-related events with her, so that's pretty good. There's still all the bureaucratic stuff to work through with registering as a non-profit. So currently my organization is an unincorporated association, which doesn't really have a lot of legal standing, but it should be enough for me to be able to open a bank account with the Japanese post office. I have to kind of prepare a lot of paperwork for that, but once I've got that set up, it means I can open a payment processing account, like a Stripe account, which will mean I can take donations online, and people will be able to join as a member online as well, and that will really accelerate everything. Being able to give people the chance to donate online and join as a member online, yeah, that will really get things underway quickly. So that's what I'm working on at the moment. Speed is very important because, yeah, we need to get some momentum going in the world of oncology. It's been very, very, very slow over decades, and that needs to change. And I think my organization can do a lot to change it. Mainly because I'm not focusing on kind of coming up with new things. It's more of connecting new things together and getting the treatments into the hands of oncologists and getting patients access to those new treatments as soon as possible, and also looking at old treatments that are not being used well, or that weren't practical or affordable in the past, but now we could really, get a lot of benefit from those treatments. So things like off-label drug use, where you get an old cheap drug that's not designed for cancer, but that has a role in treating cancer, maybe because it attacks the protection around cancer tumours, and that lets you use another treatment to greater effect. So I took an off-label drug called metformin, which is a diabetes drug, and it seems to damage cancer in various ways, but one of the things it does is it prevents the protective layer of lactic acid forming around the tumours, and that means that your immune system has a better chance of attacking the tumours. And if you're having treatments like immunotherapy, which I had a lot of, that also has more chance of working because the tumours are not protected by this layer of lactic acid that would usually destroy your white blood cells that were trying to get into the cancer. Other positive stuff, I'm working hard with the physiotherapy. So I go and see my physiotherapist every 3 weeks at what's now called Asia Physio, but better known in Tokyo as Tokyo Physio. And it's a really, really good physiotherapy clinic. And my physiotherapist, a guy called Glenn, is exceptionally good. He's very, very strict, which means I actually get results. So I see him every few weeks, and he sort of does tests and makes me kind of go into strange positions and looks at how my body is moving and where the pain is and where the tension is and where the lack of mobility is, from 5 years of traumatic cancer treatment and radiotherapy and chemotherapy and the 3 massive surgeries. And then he gives me 10 or so, sometimes more, 15 exercises that I've got to do every day. And I'm starting to get results, particularly in my spine, which is good. My spine's been damaged a lot from surgery, being in hospital for long periods of time, having the colostomy bag, which I had for 5 years, that really meant I couldn't really bend and flex my torso much. In fact, couldn't even bend my waist much. And that caused my spine to weaken a lot. When I say spine, I mean the structure of the spine, not the vertebrae, right? Not the bones, but the nerves and especially the muscles around it that kind of support and move your spine. So step by step, I'm kind of working on that, and I'm managing to swim every week, which is really good as well. And I've been back in the dojo once or twice a week, which is really good as well. And my ninjutsu instructor is a yoga instructor as well, and it's helping me a lot sort out my body a bit. So that's all positive. Another sad thing which really upset me a lot, and I'm still very upset about, is yesterday I found that Simon Dring died. He was a writer, journalist, BBC journalist, and was a very big influence on me. And I got to know him personally this year, and just online we were messaging each other, and I didn't hear from him for a while. And yesterday I just happened to check his Wikipedia page because I actually wrote that page and I wanted to show my son the Wikipedia page that I'd written, and I was really surprised and upset to see that he died about a month after his last message to me. He died actually 16th of July, which was when I was in hospital. It was a few days after my surgery. He died during a routine surgery. Died of heart attack in he was at a hospital in Croatia where he kind of lived I think he was living in Australia, Croatia, and England, kind of dividing his time between the three countries. And yeah, I'd only just got to know him a few months before. He was a terribly kind guy. He was searching all three houses for some audio recordings that he was going to send me of a BBC travel series he did. So he did a radio series called On the Road Again, where he traced the so-called hippie trail, which was the travel route from like Europe, and particularly England, to India, but going through Europe and China and the Arab world and ending up in India. And in the like mid 90s, he did the route again for BBC television, made a very, very good series again called On the Road Again, and a year later it was published as a book as well. It's a book I've read probably more than any other book I've ever read, because I use it for English teaching, so I've read it again and again and again. And the series isn't on YouTube, so it's a series of 8 30-minute programs. I have good copies of it, so it's never released on DVD because it has a lot of music where the cost of the like licensing the music would just be so high. But I shall make sure it finds its way on to BitTorrent, and I'll put it on archive.org as well. And so I'll post some links when I've done that. So yeah, you'll be able to watch that easily. There are some very low quality YouTube clips, but it's a fantastic series, traveling through Europe and Asia, interviewing travelers and finding out why they're traveling, and trying to see if they are motivated by the same things as in the 1960s. Simon Dring, in the 60s, he ran away from home, I think at the age of like 16, and followed the hippie trail and ended up as he was at the time his Reuters youngest war correspondent, covered the Vietnam War and some other wars, possibly in East Timor as well. And he really fell in love with Bangladesh, and he helped build modern Bangladesh. He set up kind of independent media there, and yeah, had a huge effect on the country, a positive effect. I know Bangladesh continues to have many issues, but yeah, Simon Dring did a lot to improve the situation there. So yeah, that was yeah, still trying to get my head around the fact that I just got to know him personally after 20 something years of following his work, and yeah, then he died suddenly and tragically during like a it was like a might it was yeah, it was a urgent surgery but relatively minor one, and it was just very unfortunate that he got a heart attack. Yeah, I'll post a link to the Wikipedia page which I wrote, and yeah, other stuff. I'm still doing a lot of study, obviously. I'm really focusing on things that I think will help with curing cancer. So currently studying of nanotechnology for both early detection of cancer and maybe treatment of cancer, and possibly also helping to undo some of the damage from cancer treatments. Cancer treatments are very invasive in the example of surgery. I've had 3 really quite big cancer surgeries. Well, two technically cancer surgeries and 1 undoing the damage of the first one, or trying to undo some of the damage of the first one. So nanotech could help, repairing some of that damage. So in my case, for example, I've had some nerves damaged and destroyed, and nanotech could help with that, especially nanotech combined with stem cell stuff. So I still need to really get my head around stem cell therapies, but there's a lot of very promising stuff there. And my oncologist works with, he has 2 research institutes doing regenerative medicine, and they're using stem cells, 3 kinds of stem cells, not from aborted fetuses, but stem cells donated from teeth. When kids have teeth extracted, some dentists, they can like fill out a form and get those teeth donated for stem cell research. A similar thing with umbilical cord stem cells, and also stem cells from fat. I'm not sure the source of those, and maybe fat removed during surgery. I'll look into it, but very interesting stuff with those. So studying my nanotech stuff, and I've been reading some good books recently. I have reread Startup: A Silicon Valley Adventure by Jerry Kaplan. This is all about the Go Corporation, which Jerry co-founded, and it was an early mobile company, so doing mobile computing. So many years before the smartphone, there were some really interesting devices like all the stuff made by Go, or Go's partners more accurately did the hardware. There was the General Magic device. There's a very good documentary about that. I think might be just called General Magic. That was General Magic was Andy Hertzfeld and a bunch of other people from the Apple Mac team, and then of course there's Apple's famous device, the Newton, which had some really innovative aspects. And a lot of that technology just got lost, and then later got eclipsed, first by the iPhone and then the iPad. I'm not sure what's happening with the iPad now, because Apple's profit margin is so much higher on an iPhone than an iPad. So it's interesting to see what's happening with that. But for me, other than just the geekiness of mobile computing, I'm obviously very interested for it in terms of making devices and appropriate software for medical workers, especially nurses. I spend a lot of my time thinking about Japanese nurses, because they are incredibly capable and in many ways underutilized, and in many ways ill-equipped to do their job. They're not given enough tech for a start, and what we need is tech that really augments their abilities, so makes them better at doing what they do, not tech that does something and the nurses have to kind of support the tech. generally augmenting humans is a much better use of technology, even now with the recent rapid advances in artificial intelligence. Oh, so that's another thing. Actually, I've been studying artificial intelligence and particularly machine learning at the moment. Playing around with Google has got a platform where you can make machine learning apps, machine learning apps in the browser, and that's a lot of fun. So I've been doing some facial recognition stuff with my son, and like a machine learning classifiers and stuff like that. So yeah, really fun and hopefully useful. I got my book group finally up and running again, and our current book is Bricklin on technology. So the reason I'm looking to the side is I've got the screen to the side, so just checking that you can actually see this. Bricklin on technology, it's out of print, so I got a used copy from Amazon, which was originally from Harrow Library, I guess in Harrow in London. It's mainly like blog posts and interviews that Dan Bricklin has done. Dan Bricklin was the co-inventor of the first computer spreadsheet called Visicalc, or Visual Calculator, and yeah, very smart, interesting guy, very unusual to have he's a real kind of Silicon Valley guy, but he seems to be very pleasant and humble. A big contrast to many of the Silicon Valley people we know and love. Really interesting book. It's got stuff about mobile computing. He co-founded a company called Slate, which was around at the same time as General Magic and the Apple Newton and the Go Corporation and EO, which made hardware to run Go stuff. And yeah, really interesting essays on that. A lot of stuff about user interface design, which is a big thing for me. There's an interview with Ward Cunningham. It's the guy behind Wikipedia. Well, let's say the guy behind Wiki, more accurately, not Wikipedia. But of course, Wikipedia is the most famous example of a wiki that people know of. And there's some stuff about the Visicalc, history of Visicalc, and also stuff about the personal computer. The reason Visicalc is so significant, even though many younger people may not have heard of it, was that Visicalc was really one of the key things that made us have personal computers. So it was the killer app for the Apple II, which meant people actually bought an Apple II just to use Visicalc. So Visicalc launched at I think $99, and at that time an Apple II was around $2,000. And both of those are significant amounts of money in the 70s, and people would buy the $2,000 computer to run the $100 bit of software. So just like email was the killer app for the internet, and I guess search, you could say, was originally the killer app of the web. The web really took off when search became usable. Early search was really bad, as I remember. Yahoo and Alta Vista and Ask Jeeves and all that stuff. Visicalc was really important, and is one of the reasons why we have personal computing in the way that we do now. So really worth getting a copy of that used, or just going to Dan Bricklin's website where you can read a lot of the content, or there's also a PDF of it floating around online. So family stuff. Oh, a while back, my friend Jim Grazanzio very kindly gave my son a camera, um, a Canon G11, which is a really nice little, really decent compact camera. So my son's been getting into photography, which is great, and getting a bit more creative. And yeah, I've been watching all the James Bond films with my son, starting at number one. Well, in fact, we watched the most recent one, No Time to Die, at the cinema, which was really enjoyable to go to the cinema after quite a while. And yeah, he was then interested in watching the original James Bond films. So we started number one, and I think we're now, yeah, we're now about halfway through number six, which is On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which is by far the best James Bond film with George Lazenby. And yeah, it's just very interesting watching the early James Bond films. They are a lot better as films, I think, than people give them credit for. Um, yeah, particularly the first six are really exceptionally good films, and very enjoyable watching those rather. And it's really nice to, when you were the child, it's really um, interesting to watch things together and discuss them, particularly to watch a series of things. Um, so we'll probably, when we get to the end of the James Bond films in a couple of months' time, we'll then probably watch The Prisoner, which is a 13 episode television series from 1960s, I guess. Kind of psychedelic Cold War series, which I think my son's going to get a lot out of. Oh, one more thing is I finally watched the film Primer. A friend recommended it many years ago, so thank you, Christopher, from Finding Japan. Um, yeah, Primer is I think it's 2004 film, I think. Super low budget film made for $2,000. Definitely one of the best films I've ever seen, and I'm gonna be watching it again probably in a few weeks' time. Just mind-blowingly good. So yeah, if you're looking for a good film to watch Primer. It's about it's kind of about a startup, but yeah, very interesting film. Really well made, and a real pleasure to watch. So yeah, thank you for enduring half an hour of my rambling, and yep, I will do another video in a couple of weeks' time. So yeah, until then, thanks always for all your support and all your interest. Yeah, and especially donations still coming in. That's amazing because it means I can have immunotherapy again soon. Ideally, I need to be having immunotherapy probably every 6 months or something. That's not really financially possible, but yeah, if I can maybe have it once every 9 to 12 months, well, it just means I don't have, apart from saving my life, it means not having to go back on harsh chemotherapy. So I deeply appreciate all your support, and yep, speak to you in a couple of weeks. Thanks a lot.